learn today is real numbers. In our previous classes, we came across so many types of numbers. So just quickly recall them. Natural numbers. The set of all the counting numbers starting from 1 is a combination of natural numbers. It is denoted by capital N, and set of all the numbers which starts from 1 until end means till infinite. Whatsoever number comes in our mind is a group of natural numbers. Whole numbers. Whole numbers is denoted by capital W. When we join 0 in the group of natural numbers, it becomes a set of whole numbers. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till infinite. Whatsoever numbers are there, all are your set of whole numbers. Integers. Integers are denoted by capital Z. So when we take the set of whole numbers, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the positive direction, and in the negative direction, all the negative numbers, that is your -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, in the positive direction also till infinite, in the negative direction also till infinite. If we are going to take the group of all these numbers, it is a set of integers. Then comes your rational number. It is denoted by capital Q. So all the numbers which can be represented in the form of P upon Q, where denominator Q is not equivalent to 0 and P and Q are any integers, such type of numbers are known as rational numbers. Suppose example we can take it as 7 upon 3. Here value of P is 7, value of Q is 3, and P and Q both are integers. So such type of numbers, or we can say -6. That means -6 could even be written as -6 upon 1. So all these type of numbers are your rational numbers. Then comes your irrational number. Irrational numbers are either represented by capital P, or it can even be represented as R minus Q. Why it is represented as R minus Q, we will be discussing just now. So what irrational numbers are? The numbers which cannot be represented in the form of P upon Q, where Q is not equivalent to 0 and P and Q are any integers. Such type of numbers are known as irrational numbers. That means the numbers which are not rational are your irrational numbers. Example of these irrational numbers could be root of 2, root of 3, root of 5, or its decimal representation could be of 0.0789632 The decimal representation of irrational number is non-terminating, non-repeating type of representation. So whatsoever the numbers is having this type of representation, decimal representation, all these numbers comes under the category of irrational number. The decimal representation of rational numbers, as we know, it is either of terminating type or non-terminating repeating, and the decimal representation of irrational number is non-terminating, non-repeating type of representation. Now comes your real numbers. Real numbers are represented by capital R. So whatsoever the number comes in our mind, whether it is a natural number or whole number or integer or rational number, irrational number, whatsoever number comes in our mind comes under the category of real numbers. Means all numbers are a part of real number, that is your capital R. Now see, all numbers are represented by capital R, that is real numbers. So if from the real number we will be removing your rational numbers, then we are getting a set of irrational number. That's the reason irrational numbers could even be represented as real number minus your rational numbers. That means from the set of real numbers, if we will be removing the set of rational numbers, we will be getting a set of irrational numbers. Here we can say that all these numbers are part of real number, but all the real numbers are not irrational, nor rational, nor integers, nor whole number, nor natural numbers, but all the natural numbers, all the whole numbers, all the integers, all the rational numbers, all the irrational numbers are real numbers. Now let's see what is prime numbers. Prime numbers are the numbers which are having only two factors, that is 1 and the number itself. The number which is having only two factors, that is one of the number is 1 and another number is the number itself, such type of numbers are known as prime numbers. Example, we can take 2, 3, 5, 7. All these are prime numbers because the factors of 2 is 1 and 2. Factors of 3 is 1 and 3. Factors of 5 is 1 and 5. And factors of 7 is 1 and 7. So all these type of numbers which are having only two factors are known as prime numbers. Now the composite numbers. Composite numbers are the numbers which are having more than two factors. All the numbers which are having more than two factors are known as composite numbers. Like examples, we can take it as 4. The factors of 4 are 1, 2 and 4. So there are three factors, that is 1, 2 and 4. If we are going to take in another example, so 1, 3, 9. The factors of 9 is 1, 3 and 9. So these type of numbers which are having more than two factors are known as composite numbers. Some important points related to prime number and composite numbers are that 1 is neither considered as prime number nor as composite number. 1 does not come in either in the category of prime number also, and it does not come under the category of composite number also. 2 is the only prime number which is even. Rest all the prime numbers are odd, because we know that the even numbers are numbers which are divisible by 2. So if we are going to take any other even number, its one of the factor will be 2 also. That's the reason the only even prime number is 2. Rest all the prime numbers are odd. There are infinitely many prime numbers. It's not like there are limited number of prime numbers. There are actually infinite number of prime numbers are available. The smallest composite number is 4. See, the 1 is neither prime nor composite. 2 comes under the category of prime number. 3 also comes under the category of prime number. So the smallest composite number is 4. 4 is the smallest composite number, and then there is no limit for the composite numbers. Multiple infinite numbers are comes under the category of composite numbers. Then comes your co-prime number. Co-prime numbers are also known as relatively prime number, or they are even known as mutually prime number. These all the three names are of your co-prime number. So co-prime number are the set of numbers which are having only 1 as the common factor. The numbers, if we are taking 2 or more than 2 numbers and they are having only one common factor, that is your 1. So such type of numbers are known as co-prime number. Example, we can take it as 3 and 4. The factors of 3 is 1 and 3. Factors of 4 is 1, 2 and 4. So common factor of these two, it is your 1 only. So such type of numbers which are having only 1 as the common factor are known as co-prime number. Another example, we could take it as 7 and you can say it as 16. The factors of 7 is 1 and 7, and factor of 16 is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. So common factors among these are 1 only. So such type of numbers whose having only one common factor, that is 1, such type of numbers are known as co-prime number. Whenever we are taking any two prime numbers, they will also be co-prime number. What's the reason behind that? If we are taking two prime numbers, suppose I am saying one of the prime number is 7 and another prime number is 11. So just now we said that the prime numbers are the number which are having only two factors, out of which one is 1 and another is the number itself. So the factors of 7 will be 1 and 7 and factor of 11 will be 1 and 11. So obviously there is only one common factor, that is 1. That's the reason all the prime numbers are your co-prime numbers also. Similarly, if we are going to take two consecutive numbers, they will also be always co-prime. Suppose I am taking an example of 5 and 6. They are consecutive numbers. Consecutive numbers are just coming after the number. Means after 5 comes your 6. That's the reason 5 and 6 are consecutive numbers. So the factors of 5 will be 1 and 5 and factors of 6 will be 1, 2, 3 and 6. So these numbers, all the consecutive numbers, whatsoever consecutive numbers you will be taking, they will be co-prime number also, because they will be having only one common factor, that will be 1 only. Now let's see what is fundamental theorem of arithmetic. According to the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, every composite number can be expressed or factorized as a product of primes, and this factorization is unique apart from the order in which the prime factors occur. That means every composite number can be represented as the multiplication or the product of prime numbers. This representation is unique in itself. We can change the order of this representation, but for every composite number, the representation is unique. Now let's understand this with an example. Suppose we have to represent 24 as the product of prime numbers. So we know that the 24 is a composite number, and we can write 24 as, if we are going to do the prime factorization of 24, and if we are going to divide it by 2, we will be getting 12. Then again dividing it by 2 will be getting 6. Again dividing by 2 will be getting 3. Dividing by 3 will be getting 1. That means 24 could be written as the product of 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3. We know all these numbers are your prime numbers. That means every composite number can be represented as the product of prime numbers, and this is unique in itself. Although we can change the order of these numbers, but still this representation is unique. That means for representing 24, this will be the unique representation. Similarly, we are going to take 39 as an example. So 39 could be written as 3 multiplied by 13. So 39, which is a composite number, can be represented as product of these two prime numbers. So we can say that every composite number can be represented as the product of prime numbers, and this representation is unique in itself. Now let's understand one of the question based on this concept only. We have to check whether 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 plus 5 is composite or not. So we know that if there are more than 2 factors of any number, the number is composite. So let's check. So we have represented this number as it is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 plus 5. So here one of the term is this and another term is this. In both the numbers 5 is there, so we will take 5 common. The remaining will be 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 plus 1. Because 5 we have taken common, so here it will be 1. So we can write it as 4 multiplied by 3, 12 multiplied by 2, 24. 24 plus 1, that is 5 multiplied by 25. 25 is not a prime number, so it could even be written as 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. And if we are going to multiply all these three numbers, we will be getting 125. So value of this is 125, which is a composite number, because this composite number can be represented as the product of these prime numbers. These three are the prime numbers, 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. All these three are prime numbers. So we can write 125 as the product of these three prime numbers. So it is a composite number. Or in other words, we can say that the factors of these 125 is 1, 5, 25 and 125. Because it is having more than 2 factors, that's the reason 125 will be a composite number, or we can say that this is composite. Now let's understand what is LCM and HCF. LCM is least common multiple. So LCM is basically product of greatest power of each prime factor involved in the numbers. So when we are doing the prime factorization of any number, or we are representing any composite number as the product of prime numbers, then whatsoever the greatest power of each prime number is there, the product of these will give us LCM of those numbers. Similarly, HCF, that is highest common factor, is the product of the smallest power of each common prime factor in the numbers. So in the numbers we are doing the prime factorization of all the numbers, and if we are doing the product of the greatest power of these prime factors, then we will be getting the LCM, and if we will be doing the product of the smallest power of each prime factor which is common in all the numbers, we will be getting the HCF of those numbers. Now let's understand this using an example. Suppose the numbers we have taken as 6, 14 and 12, and we have to find the LCM and HCF of these numbers. So 6 could be represented as, 6 could be written as 2 multiplied by 3, product of 2 and 3. 14 could be written as the product of 2 and 7. Similarly, 21 could be written as product of 3 and 7. So here we can see that 2 is available in 6, 2 is available in the factors of 14, but 2 is not available in the factor of 21. So for finding the LCM, we will be taking the highest power of all the prime factors available. Highest power of 2 over here is 2, 1 only. Highest power of 2 here is 1. There is no power of 2. So we will be taking 1, 2 here. Highest power of 3 is 1 here. Here there is no factor of 3. Here the highest power of 3 is 1. So we will be taking 1, 3 here. Here there is no factor of 7. Here there is 1 power of 7. Here even there is 1, 7. So we will be taking 1, 7 out. So this will be the LCM, that is the product of prime factors with their greatest powers. So its product will be 42, and that will be the LCM. Now we have to find the HCF. So highest power of the prime factors which is common in all the three. Here 2 is not available in all the three. 3 is even not available in all the three, and 7 is not available in all the three. That's the reason common factor which is available in all the three will be 1, and HCF of all these numbers will be 1. Now we have to find the HCF and LCM of 24 and 63. So just now we have seen that the prime factorization of 24 is 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3. That means this could be written as 2 raised to the power 3 multiplied by 3. 63 could be written as 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 7. That means it could be written as 3 raised to the power 2 multiplied by 7. Now if we are going to see, for finding LCM, we want the greatest power of all the prime factors. Here the greatest power of 2 is 3 in 24. So we will be taking 2 raised to the power 3 multiplied by greatest power of 3 in all these two prime factors is 3 raised to the power 2. So we will be taking 3 raised to the power 2, and greatest power of 7 over here is 7. So if we will be multiplying all these numbers, we will be getting the LCM of 24 and 63. For finding the HCF, we want the smallest prime factor which is common in both the two numbers, that is 24 and 63. So over here there is no power of 2 factors in the number 63. There is no factor, 2 is not there. So 2 won't be coming here. In this 24 and 63, in 24 there is 1 3 is there, in 63 there is 2 3's are there, but for finding HCF we want the smallest power of the prime factor. So we will be taking smallest power of 3, that is 1, that is 3 only. So HCF of these two numbers will be 3, and LCM will be multiplication of all these numbers. So hope it is clear to you that how to find the LCM and how to find the HCF of the given numbers. Now let's see one of the important relation between any two numbers and their HCF and LCM. If there are any two numbers, positive numbers, suppose A and B, then HCF of these two numbers multiplied by LCM of these two numbers will be equivalent to product of these two numbers. It is an important relation. Again I am repeating, if any two positive integers are there, A and B are any two positive integers, then HCF of these two numbers and LCM of these two numbers, product of these two, will be equivalent to product of the numbers. But instead of 2, if there are 3 numbers are there, then their HCF and LCM product of these two will not be equivalent to product of these 3 numbers. It is only applicable when there are 2 integers are there, only 2 numbers are there, then only it is applicable. Now let's see one of the example based on this. The LCM and HCF of 2 numbers are 1500 and 10 respectively. If one of the number is 30, find other number. Here, LCM of 2 numbers is given to us as 1500. HCF of the 2 numbers is given to us as 10. One number is given to us as 30. We have to find another number. So as we know that the product of LCM of any 2 numbers, suppose the numbers are A and B, and HCF of these 2 numbers is equivalent to product of the numbers. So now just keeping the values, LCM is given to us as 1500, HCF is given to us as 10, one of the number is 30, we are assuming the another number to be B itself. So from here we can say that the value of another number, that is value of B, will be 1500 multiplied by 10 divided by 30. 1010 cancelled, 3 5 is 15, so another number is 500. So we can say that the second number will be 500. Now let's see one of the theorem. If P divides A square, then P divides A, where P be a prime number and A is a positive integer. That means if there is a prime number P, and if this prime number P is dividing a positive integer A square, then it will be dividing A also. Symbolically we can represent it as P divides A square, then P divides A also. That means here it is not P divided by A square, it is not. Both are not equal. Both doesn't mean same. It means P divides A square and it says P divided by A square. Both are different. So it simply means if P divides A square, then we can simply say that P divides A also. Now as we are saying that P is a prime number, and suppose A is any composite number which can be represented as the product of prime numbers. And the product of prime numbers, suppose these are the prime numbers, we are representing this A as the product of these prime numbers, then A square will be P1 multiplied by P1 multiplied by P2 multiplied by P2 multiplied by P3 multiplied by P3. Or we can say that P1 into P2 into P3 whole square also. Now if P is dividing this A square, that means P is one of these prime numbers only. Out of these, either P1 or P2 or P3, P will be one of these two. And if P is one of these two, and if it is dividing this, then automatically it will divide A also. If out of any these three, if P, suppose we are taking this, that this P is your P2, and if this P2 is dividing your A square, then automatically we can say that this P2 will be dividing A also, because it is one of the factor of A also. As it is a factor of A square, similarly this P is also a factor of A also. Then if there is a prime factor, prime number P which is dividing A square, then automatically it will divide A also. Now let's take a question. Prove that 12 raised to the power n cannot end with 0 for any natural number n. That means n is a natural number, and for any value of n, 12 raised to the power n will not end with 0. Its value won't be ending with 0. So we know that the prime factorization of 12 is, 12 could be written as 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3. 12 raised to the power n means the whole raised to the power n, or it could even be written as 2 raised to the power 2 multiplied by 3 whole raised to the power n. So 12 raised to the power n could be written as 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 raised to the power n, or it could even be written as 2 raised to the power 2 multiplied by 3 whole raised to the power n. Over here we can see that the prime factorization of 12 has 2 and 3 as the prime factors. but we know that the prime factorization of the number which will end with 0 should have 2 and 5 both as the prime factor in their factorization. But over here it is 2 and 3 only, and as it is not fulfilling the condition, that's the reason this value can't end with 0. So how we will be writing it? That using fundamental theorem of arithmetics, we can say that 2 and 3 are the only prime factors of the given number. For the given number, the only prime factors is 2 and 3 are the only prime factors of this given number. And we know that a number can end with 0 if its prime factorization contains both 2 and 5 as the prime factor, because the prime factorization of 10 is 2 multiplied by 5. So if we want any number to end with 0, that simply means its prime factorization should have 2 and 5 both in their factorization. Now because it is not following the condition, its prime factorization is having 2 but not having 5. So since given number does not follow this condition, hence it cannot end with digit 0. Let's take another question. Prove that 2 plus 3 root 5 is a rational number. Given root 5 is irrational. It is given to us that root 5 is an irrational number. We need to prove that 2 plus 3 root 5 is also irrational. For solving these type of question, we will be assuming that 2 plus 3 root 5 is a rational number. So we are assuming that 2 plus 3 root 5 is a rational number. And we know that a rational number is a number which can be represented in the form of P upon Q. And if it is a rational number, that means it can be represented in the form of P upon Q. So we are writing this as 2 plus 3 root 5 is equivalent to P upon Q, where Q is not equivalent to 0 and P and Q are any integers. So this is our assumption that this is 2 plus 3 root 5 is a rational number, and because it is a rational number, so we can represent this in the form of P upon Q, where Q is not equivalent to 0 and P and Q are any integers. Now see, this could even be written as 3 root 5 is equivalent to P upon Q minus 2. From LHS to RHS, if we are going to take this plus 2, it will turn to minus 2. Here, so we can say root 5 is equivalent to 1 upon 3 P upon Q minus 2. This 3 is in multiplication with root 5. We have changed its direction. So it will go in division, and it could be written as 1 upon 3 multiplied by P upon Q minus 2. Now we know that P and Q, 2, 3 all are your rational numbers. And if all these are your rational number, that simply means that value of this part, value of this RHS will even be a rational number, as we know that your P, Q, 3, 2 all are rational numbers. Therefore, 1 upon 3 P upon Q minus 2 will even be a rational number, will also be a rational number. Now we also know that a rational number cannot be equivalent to a irrational number, because it is given to us that root 5 is a irrational number, and we have just now proved that this is a rational number. So a rational number cannot be equivalent to a irrational number. That's the reason whatsoever we have assumed is your contradictory, and assumption was wrong, because this contradiction has arisen because of our wrong assumption. That simply means our assumption was wrong, and basically 2 plus 3 root 5 is an irrational number. So how we will be writing it? We know that a rational number cannot be equivalent to an irrational number. But above statement, that is your this is statement, if we are saying this as equation number 1, so we can say, but in our equation number 1, it contradicts to this fact. This contradiction arises due to our wrong assumption, and hence we can say that 2 plus 3 root 5 is basically a irrational number, and this is to be proved. So that's the reason we will be writing hence proved. Hope it is clear to you all, and these type of questions are done in the same way. We'll be assuming these number to be rational, and finally we'll be proving that assumption was wrong, and whatsoever we had assumed was actually wrong. It is basically a irrational number. Hope you must have liked the videos and understood the concept of the chapter, that is real number. Soon we'll be coming with more videos with more problems related to real numbers and many more topics of mathematics. Thank you.